says to talk to you guys about the GT machine here. Got to install some headers, do the spark plug replacement, 4-year service. Look good. Finally got my headers from Seoul. Took me about 6 weeks to get them. They said they were on an 8-week backlog. So let's open the box, see what's inside. So here's the box. Super good packing. So let's get it open. Haven't opened it yet. Let's see what's inside. Seoul's a super good company to deal with. Had no problems calling them up and ordering the headers, and they gave me updates through the process about how long it would take to get them, and they actually ended up coming in about 2 weeks early. Like everything's packed in here pretty nice. Looks like they actually give you hardware for. Looks like it's for where the downpipes connect to the headers. Here they are right here, full stainless exhaust. Looks like they come pre-painted. Definitely look pretty nice. Can't wait to get them on. Definitely high quality packing, so you don't have any issues. Looks like pretty good build quality. Shouldn't have any issues with them. Heard everybody else likes them. And then we'll go over everything else I'm going to install with it and we'll replace. So I got all new hardware to install it. Here's the downpipe gaskets, new header bolts. Here's the header gaskets, all factory brand new from Porsche, just to make sure, even though the car's got 5,000 miles on it, it doesn't hurt to have them just in case. And then here's for my O2 sensors to hopefully help with the check engine light. I've seen these have really good returns. I was going to use them on my Audi S4 I had and never got around installing test pipes on them, but I've seen people use these on the Porsche headers as well. And they come with individual spacers to hopefully, one of them should get you where you need to be to where the check engine light doesn't come on. So let me get the car set up, get it up here on jacks, and then I'm going to get it up really high because I got to get the front cover off, the under tray, and access the plugs and everything else. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I got it up in the air, used the jacks, the quick stands. Then I set it down on jack stands on the 4 corners because we need to get access to this trim panel underneath and get it off, and the quick jacks are in the way. So let's go ahead and get the tires off, and then I'll go ahead and get underneath and get that trim panel off. So once all the bolts are off, just easily work it off and it'll just come off. It's just stuck on the studs for the 10mm plastic nuts. You just want to make sure you're gentle with it so you don't crack it. This way it'll give us more room just in case we need it. So now we got full access. About to say all your bolts for the headers are right up through there. And I took the wheel off to get to the bolts for here, for the downpipes. And then also gives you full access to the mounting bolts. And then also, once you got them out of there, you got to get up in there and get the O2 sensor connectors as well. So let's go ahead and start on bolting everything. All right, to get the headers off, you want to use an inverted Torx. Crap. Left it up on my toolbox. You want to use an inverted Torx E12 to get the header bolts off. And then also a 13mm to get the nuts off here for the downpipe. So let's go ahead and get those bolts off, and then we'll start with the header. One thing you want to be careful of is make sure you don't hit the rotor if you got carbon fiber rotors. And I'll go around and do the same thing the other side. Luckily with mine, it's only got about 5,500 miles on it, so it makes it easy to get the bolts loose. But if you have other ones, you may have to use a WD-40 or potentially a torch to heat them up. Make sure you don't break anything. This one bolt here, you want to loosen up a little bit because it holds to a bracket that supports the headers to the side of the cylinder head. So you can loosen up all the other bolts and then loosen that one up last. So the headers have 9 bolts per side that bolt to the cylinder head. And then I loosened the bolt up so I did drop down a little bit, but make sure you don't pull it out completely because you still got to disconnect the O2 sensor wires. So I'll loosen this a little bit to give me play so I get the wires disconnected. So it looks like the O2 wire is going to be a little difficult to get out, but let me see if I can show them to you. So they're right here up on the bulkhead, the connectors. Right here. So we're going to disconnect them here. And then there's a bunch of clips we've got to release up in here, where they route and then they'll be able to drop down. So let me go ahead and get them off, and I'll go ahead and drop this one side bank header off. All right, so the top bolt to get the O2 sensor bracket off is a T40. Well, luckily, it wasn't that stubborn. So that should be all the clips for the O2 sensors. Yep. Okay, so now the header should be able to come down. One thing you want to make sure to do is hold the header up while you undo the last bolt so it doesn't fall on you. And then slowly slide it down. Slide the gasket out. Let's see how easy this is to come out of here. Okay, it's just sitting on the frame support. One thing you want to be careful with the O2s in there is you don't beat them around too bad so you don't damage the sensors, because we've got to reuse those. And then it just falls right out of there. So there's the driver's side bank off, and there's both O2 sensors. I like leaving the brackets in there because it tells you exactly where the lengths need to be and where the clips need to go back to help us put it back together. So let me get the special socket for the O2 sensors and we'll get them out of there as well. So I recommend, I have a kit just since I used to be a tech, but this set does oil pressure sensors, O2 sensors, and I think there's one other one. The nice thing about the O2 sensor sockets is there's cutouts for the wires, and it comes with all different kind of sizes, depths, anything you need. This has helped me in a pinch to get a bunch of them out. But with this one, we'll just use the so there's one loose. Sometimes it just depends on the socket you need. You need a little more leverage sometimes. They can be stubborn and stuck. And once you break them loose, they should come out by hand. There's the one. There's the second one. And then we'll go ahead and transfer these right away, and we'll set this aside and do the spark plugs on this side. One thing I like to do with these is put some anti-seize on the threads just to make it, the new ones come with it already pre-installed, but just over time and wear, it does go away. So just take a little bit and just put it on the threads. Helps it go in nicer and then no issues if you ever need to take it back out. And then once it's in there, take the socket, hand snug, take a ratchet, and just torque it down until you feel that crush washer seat, and then that's it, it stops. It's good to go. And then for the back one here, you're gonna need to the O2 extender. So this is going to be trial and error, so I'm going to go with the medium orifice one. So I'm not sure which one's going to keep the light out. So the orifice just sticks in the bottom here, like so. And then it comes with a C-clip to put it in there and keep it in there. So I'll get the pliers and put the C-clip in. And this one, it comes with a crush washer. To install, and then I always like to put a little anti-seize on there in case. This one may have to come back out to adjust, so I'll put a little bit on there to make sure we can get adjustments on it if needed. So this I'm going to snug down, but I'm not going to leave tight because I may have to adjust it later to make sure it doesn't rub on anything. Put a little anti-seize on the threads. And then this just screws right on in there. And then for this one, we can go ahead and tighten it up in there, just because we're not sure what angle we're gonna have to put this at. So same with this, you wanna get it tight so you feel a little crush washer crush, and then it just stops and you don't wanna go anymore. All right, so that's the exhaust done. Let's go ahead and get the plugs changed. Now I'm making a mess. So now I got full access to all the coils and the plugs pretty easy. It took me maybe 30-40 minutes to get the one side header off. I don't think it's too bad to do that and to make easier access to the plugs. It probably added additional time for me to get tooling out needed and just figure it out. So let's go ahead and do the plugs. Looks like the plug or the coil bolts are T30s. Make sure I can see something. They're not very tight as either. They're probably like a little past snug, maybe like 5 or 10 foot-pounds, and that's it. Yeah. Keep dropping the tools. This would be a good time if you bought the coil shields to install them as well, but I did not. I'll have to do that at a later point. Everybody says it saves coils and it puts less stress on the coils and keeps heat away from them. But I think the headers are going to do that as well, to where with no converters, you're not really having a massive amount of heat sitting there roasting on the coils. All right, we're taking the electrical connectors off each coil. You just want to push the tab in and push up, and they slide right off. And then once they're off, just give the coil a little twist, and they pull right out. It doesn't really matter if you put these back in different spots, but I always like to put them back in the same hole. That's just me, but it really doesn't matter what hole you put them in. And then the one you got to watch the back. The frame only just twists to the side, and then she pulls right out. It's probably good to disconnect this. I believe it's a cam position sensor connector, just so in case when you're taking the spark plugs out, you don't bang it with your ratchet and break it. So let me go ahead and get this spark plug socket. That's another benefit from being tech. I do have a tool here, and it also has insert in it, so it'll grab the plug. Just be careful because you can bang your knuckles and start bleeding. I really don't like to use power tools putting plugs in because you could run into an issue and then your day is really over. But it's fine to use them to take them out once they're broken loose. So this one's gonna be, the middle one's a little challenging. Put the socket in there first, or actually I'll just take it out by hand. And the nice thing that these things being knurled at the end gives them good grips to where you can do this by hand. All right, so here's all three plugs. They look pretty normal to me. What you're looking for is almost like a light brownish color, light gray. That's how you know you got a complete burn. And then there's no deposits here on the end of the plugs. And then you're looking for uniformity between all the plugs, which everything looks pretty good to me. Honestly, could have kept going with these plugs since they only had 5,000 miles on it. I could just put some anti-seize on there and throw back in. Pretty much the plugs came out with any real effort. Definitely probably could have left these in there and gone longer, but I'll get new ones in there and we don't have an issue going forward. But yeah, there's really no signs of rust or anything like this on there. I'm not sure if you guys have read up on the old Ford 3-valve engines where you should probably take them out every 2 or 3 years and lube them up just because of the way those plugs work. But there's no rust here on the threads, really, no deposits. So I probably could have left them in there another year or two and been fine, but sometimes it's always better safe than sorry. So we'll go ahead and get them changed out. Let me go ahead and grab the new ones. So here's the new ones. They come pre-gapped because they have 4 grounds to the electrode. Make sure you get the complete burn with the boxer engine. They don't have anti-seize on them, but I'm going to put a little bit on the threads here. Make sure there's no issues. And then also I like putting dielectric grease on the spark plug blues. Make sure they're all sealed up and makes them easier coming back off the next time. And I just run them in the hand till they're just stop. And then you guys can torque them if you like. I've done this long enough to know by hand. What you want to do is you want to tighten them. You want to feel the crush, and you go like a quarter turn more. Once those are in, we can start putting the coils back in. And like I said, I like using a little bit of dielectric grease on there just to make sure no moisture gets in there, and then they stay sealed around the plug. And then sometimes they can also get seized at a plug where it makes them a pain in the butt to come out. So just a little bit in there and put it. Go ahead and cut the connectors on. Push them down till you hear the click, and that's when you know the clip is seated to where it's not going to fall off. And then make sure you, if you do take the connector off that sensor that we took off for access, just put it back on. And then same thing, push it on until you hear the click. Once those are in, we can go ahead and put the coil bolts back in so the coils stay down. And then just get the back in there and just snug them on down. All right, now we can start getting the header in there. So due to the nature of the sole headers, I don't need this support bracket since there's no extra weight due to no converters. So go ahead and take it off. All right, let's go ahead and get this side header up in there, and we'll finish the side off. get it slid up in there. Just be careful with the actual gasket. You don't bend it all to crap. So once we got it kind of in there, I'm gonna grab one bolt and we'll get it started. I'm using new exhaust bolts, even though I think the old ones are fine. Ah, crap. Manifold gap. This is kind of a pain in the butt with no alignment tabs to hold the gasket in place. Oh, daggone it. Crap. Oh, man, this gets heavy. Oh, nuts, come on. Oh, come on. Wish there was an alignment tab that could help hold the manifold gasket up, because that's half the problem. God dang it. Foobar, man. Is this even... Whew, that was definitely a pain in the butt to get them started. Holy cow. But once you have the first one, then the rest of them just go like butter. So in case I gotta get these back off, because I'll probably take them off to do maybe spark plugs again. I don't know if I'll have to once I see the new room in here, but I'll go ahead and put some anti-seize on the bolts, just so we can get them in and out easy. Before you tighten down any of them, you want to make sure you start all of them first. Just because you don't want to cross thread anything. Because if you cross thread it, you're going to have a bad time. Then you have to fix it, and it's a disaster. So once all of them are started, we can start tightening them down. So you want to snug them from the inside out to spread the torque out. We'll get these bolts lined up and put on. So this hardware here came with the headers because you can't reuse the factory because it's studs. So I got a brand new gasket as well. And then I'll put some anti-seize on the bolt heads as well. So go ahead and slide the gasket in there. Slide the bolt and then push the manifold up into place, and then throw your washer on there, and then the copper lock nut. Sorry, brake line's kind of in the way, I can't see. Then once that one's on there, we'll go ahead and do the same thing to the bottom one. Bottom one just need a little bit of adjustment. I just loosen the clamp in the back for the muffler. Slide the washer on, and then go ahead and put our nut on. And then since these are through bolts, you want to make sure you hold it on the back side and tighten it up correctly. And then these are self-locking nuts because of the way they're made, so they bite down on there so they don't come loose. And then once that's done, I go ahead and retighten the stack clamp. And then start wrapping up this side. All right, time to get started with the passenger side. So I've already removed the bolts from the downpipe, from the headers to the muffler, and then we'll go ahead and start removing this exhaust manifold the same way we did the driver's side.
Daggone, I dropped you guys again.
So there's the passenger side one out. All right, let me get the coils out and do the spark plugs on this side. All right, the passenger side is definitely a lot harder than the driver's side. Driver's side was easy. Now it's just that. I don't know how they expect you to. Yeah, this is tough. All right, I got to start. Jeez, wee. All right, with the cool piping here, and then the way the header's designed, it covers up this front bolt here, which is a pain in the butt to get to. All right, let's go and get them stuck down. Also, the torque on these bolts is 10 to 12 foot-pounds. All right, whew. That was a little more difficult than I thought it was gonna be compared to the driver's side. All right, now we can put our O2 sensor wires back, get them routed correctly. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. Let's go ahead and get the under trays installed and back on the ground and get this fired up for the first time. Move all the tools and get off the jack stands and get the wheels back on. All right, guys, here's the first start with the sole exhaust, catless headers.
Thanks for watching, guys. About to install everything, part off, all the anti-seize and everything. I want you to do it for a test drive.